Listen closely, for this message comes wrapped in tears. Tears from a source you may never have felt so deeply before. Every moment you spend distracted, every glance you cast away, carries weight far beyond what the eye can see. Today, I will share a truth rarely spoken, a wisdom hidden within the quiet halls of Shaolin and the stillness of the heart. This is not advice meant for fleeting curiosity. It is a call, urgent and unrelenting, to awaken to your highest self. In this video, you will learn the hidden principles that guide true mastery over mind, body, and spirit. You will uncover the ways discipline can liberate rather than confine, how stillness can reveal what chaos tries to bury, and why the tears of the divine are not signs of weakness but of love and profound longing. You will discover the delicate balance between courage and humility, the subtle art of channeling energy, and the secret truths that connect every choice you make to a far greater purpose. Few ever speak of the unseen consequences of ignoring this guidance, of the quiet suffering that stems from neglecting the sacred patterns woven into life itself. You will hear stories and insights preserved for centuries within Shaolin tradition, lessons overlooked by the world, yet vital for anyone walking the path of awakening. Stay with me until the very end, for each moment holds a piece of a larger awakening, a revelation meant to shift your path and align you with a higher calling. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire, where ancient wisdom meets the rhythm of modern life. Subscribe and join this journey, not merely to watch, but to awaken, to feel, and to act with clarity that honors the tears of the divine. There is a moment, silent and fleeting, where the world waits for no one, and yet within that very moment everything waits for you. Most walk through life carrying thoughts like heavy stones, scattering attention to the winds of distraction, unaware that each lost second dims the light of awareness within. The present is more than time, it is the thread that connects the ordinary to the sacred. When the mind drifts, when attention fragments, the subtle guidance of the divine slips past, unnoticed. Messages that could illuminate your path are drowned in the noise of endless chatter and scattered desires. The body may move, the eyes may see, but the spirit, untethered from the now, wanders in a shadowed realm where clarity cannot reach. Shaolin masters have long understood this. In the monastery, monks cultivate presence through simple yet profound practices, walking with deliberate steps, breathing with measured attention, and observing every motion as if it carries the weight of eternity. Each gesture becomes meditation, each breath a bridge between the self and the vast intelligence that surrounds all life. Focused awareness is not an act of effort but an art of surrender. When you immerse fully in the moment, watching the rise of the sun, listening to the subtle rhythm of your heartbeat, feeling the texture of the world around you, you begin to perceive currents invisible to the distracted mind. The chaos of thought quiets, the restless heart steadies, and insight emerges as naturally as water flowing down a mountain stream. This power of presence does more than calm. It strengthens, it sharpens perception, aligns intention, and deepens connection with forces unseen yet profoundly real. Each moment lived fully is a step into mastery, a movement closer to understanding the divine whispers that guide those willing to stand still, to breathe deeply, and to be here, completely, utterly here. Discipline is often mistaken for chains, a burden imposed from the outside. Yet in the quiet halls of the mind, true discipline is a gentle liberation. It does not confine, it frees. Each act of self-mastery, no matter how small, becomes a key that unlocks the deeper chambers of the soul. The body may bend to routine, but the spirit rises with every deliberate choice, moving closer to clarity and inner sovereignty. In Shaolin tradition, the path of discipline is woven into every breath and motion. Monks rise before dawn, not from obligation, but from devotion to presence and purpose. Meditation is not merely stillness, it is a training of the mind to resist distraction, to observe thought without surrendering to it. Controlled breathing steadies the heart, channels energy and tempers impulse, allowing insight to flow freely. Every movement, whether in martial practice or simple walking, becomes intentional, a dialogue between the body and the mind, each step a lesson in focus, patience, and awareness. Freedom emerges not through chaos, but through repeated mindful action. The small victories of daily practice, rising early, holding attention, choosing patience, accumulate like drops forming a river. Over time, the mind becomes resilient, the heart steady, and the soul unshakable. Discipline becomes a shield, not a cage, protecting the inner world from distraction and doubt. The paradox of mastery is this: the more the body submits to routine, the more the spirit soars. In letting go of fleeting indulgences and resisting impulsive whims, one discovers the boundless expanse of inner freedom. The rigid structures of practice are not prisons, they are scaffolding for the soul. Within their embrace, strength grows quietly, steadily, until it becomes a natural rhythm, a state where thought, action, and intention move as one. True freedom is found not in abandoning discipline, but in surrendering to it, letting it shape the vessel that carries the spirit toward awakening. Emotions are not enemies to conquer, they are rivers flowing through the landscape of the soul. To master them is not to block their current, but to understand their depth, to guide their energy without being swept away. In the silence of awareness, each feeling reveals its purpose. Fear teaches caution, anger exposes boundaries, grief opens space for compassion, and joy illuminates the sacred threads connecting all life. Many mistake control for suppression, believing mastery lies in shutting the heart. Yet the heart that cannot feel is a vessel sealed, blind to the lessons hidden within each pulse of emotion. True mastery arises from presence, watching the rise and fall of sensations without judgment, allowing them to move through without leaving residue. In this practice, the mind sharpens, the spirit steadies, and the soul learns its own language, spoken in the subtle currents between thought and feeling. Within ancient Shaolin teachings, emotional balance is cultivated like a martial form, with patience, repetition, and intention. Breathing with emotion, observing without reaction, and moving mindfully in harmony with inner tides, these are the tools to refine the heart. Through this practice, emotions transform from forces that control into energies that guide. The tears of the divine are not mere sorrow, they are a mirror reflecting love, a profound grief at seeing humans drift from their highest path. Each tear embodies the tender awareness of potential lost, choices ignored, and the longing for awakening. To witness these emotions, to honor them without fear, is to step closer to alignment with the sacred. Emotional mastery does not dull the heart, it deepens it. It allows one to feel fully, act wisely, and move through life with a quiet strength that mirrors the eternal patience of the divine. In this space, the soul finds clarity, the mind finds peace, and the heart learns the sacred rhythm of balance. Every choice carries weight, far beyond the moment it is made. A single thought can ripple through days, a word can shift the course of a life, and an action, though small, can echo in ways unseen. In the quiet chambers of the mind, the consequences of these choices are already present, waiting to unfold. To live consciously is to recognize this truth, to move with awareness rather than drift through life, as if untouched by cause and effect. Ancient wisdom teaches that guidance is always available, whispered through intuition, signs, and the subtle currents of life. Ignoring it does not invite punishment, but rather allows the natural consequences of misalignment to manifest. Suffering is not retribution, it is feedback, a mirror showing where attention and care have faltered. The universe does not act in judgment, it reflects the energy one projects. Discernment grows through reflection, through pausing before reaction. A practiced mind weighs intention, consequence, and alignment with higher truth. Shaolin training embeds this principle deeply. Every movement is considered, every breath measured, every step intentional. This discipline teaches that mastery is not only physical, it begins in the mind, in the quiet deliberation before the first action is taken. Living with this awareness transforms responsibility from burden into power. Each choice becomes a brushstroke on the canvas of life, painting a reality shaped by clarity, not by impulse. Energy flows where attention goes, and deliberate action strengthens the spirit. The moment before a decision becomes sacred, a threshold where insight, patience, and courage converge. Those who embrace the weight of their choices learn to act from wisdom rather than habit. They recognize that alignment, like discipline, is a daily practice, and that clarity emerges not from certainty but from careful, conscious engagement with each thought, word, and movement. In this space, life becomes a mirror reflecting mastery back to the soul. In the quiet, where no sound competes for attention, the mind begins to speak in its truest voice. Silence is not emptiness. It is a mirror reflecting the movements of the heart, the patterns of thought, and the subtle stirrings of the spirit. Within stillness, distractions fall away, leaving only what is essential. The soul can breathe, and clarity begins to emerge like light piercing a dense forest at dawn. Shaolin tradition honors this principle deeply. Monks retreat to remote halls and mountains, not to escape life, but to encounter it fully. Hours of meditation, mindful walking, and controlled breathing teach patience and observation. In these practices, insight is not forced. It arises naturally when the mind surrenders to quiet. Every gesture, every pause, becomes a lesson in noticing what is ordinarily overlooked. The mind learns to distinguish between fleeting noise and enduring truth. Solitude too carries a sacred power. In separation from constant distraction, one discovers the depth of thought and feeling, often drowned by external clamor. The greatest revelations of self-mastery are rarely announced. They arrive gently, in the spaces where we are alone with our own presence. The more one practices sitting with silence, observing without interference, the more wisdom flows into ordinary life, coloring decisions, actions, and relationships with awareness. Noise may entertain, distract, or numb, but it cannot teach. True clarity, the kind that guides the soul, comes only when attention is steady and the heart is patient. In stillness, one perceives the rhythms beneath the surface, the subtle currents of energy, the quiet nudges of intuition, the messages often missed in the chaos of daily life. Those who embrace silence and solitude do not simply endure it. They allow it to shape them, to refine perception, and to awaken the inner mastery that moves through life with calm, unwavering presence. True strength is measured not in victories over others, but in the quiet courage to face oneself. The heart often hides behind excuses, distractions, and illusions, avoiding the truths that demand attention. Fear, regret, and past mistakes linger like shadows, and only by turning toward them with honesty can the light of understanding enter. To look within is to confront the parts of oneself that whisper doubt, shame, or resistance, and it is in this confrontation that mastery begins. Shaolin wisdom teaches that self-deception is the heaviest barrier to growth. One may train the body, memorize teachings, or perform rituals, yet if the mind refuses truth, the soul remains untrained. The path to awakening begins with acknowledging weakness, seeing fear for what it is, and tracing the roots of past errors without judgment. This is not a moment of despair, but of liberation, for clarity grows when illusions fall away. Before guiding others, one must first stand firmly in personal integrity. Attempts to lead from pretension or denial scatter energy and misalign intention. Divine guidance is subtle. Like a river beneath the surface of the mind, it flows freely only when obstacles of dishonesty and avoidance are removed. Each unacknowledged fear, each ignored mistake diverts that current, leaving the soul stagnant. Courage in this sense is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move through it. It is discipline applied inwardly, a steadfast gaze into one's own reflection, even when the truths revealed are uncomfortable or humbling. In facing oneself, the heart grows resilient, the mind clear, and the spirit open. This inner confrontation cultivates the strength to act wisely, speak truthfully, and walk a path aligned with both personal mastery and the higher currents of guidance that have always been present, waiting patiently for recognition. Humility is often misunderstood as surrender or weakness, yet in its truest form, it is one of the greatest expressions of strength. To be humble is to align with the currents of truth that flow far beyond the self. It is to recognize the vastness of life and the limitations of one's own perspective, allowing insight to enter without resistance. In humility, the mind softens, the heart opens, and clarity replaces the fog of ego. The ego builds walls around perception, convincing us that knowledge, power, or status define worth. It whispers that mastery comes from proving oneself rather than understanding oneself. Yet these illusions only delay awakening. When pride dominates, divine guidance becomes faint, obscured by the noise of self-importance. Only by releasing attachment to recognition and by seeing each moment as a teacher does the path of awakening widen. Ancient Shaolin teachings embrace humility as a living practice. Every gesture, every lesson, and every routine, whether in meditation, martial forms, or service, encourages the practitioner to let go of arrogance and observe life with reverence. Gratitude becomes a daily discipline, reverence a natural response, and openness to learning from all experiences, whether painful or joyful, becomes a source of strength. Humility is not passive. It is power tempered by wisdom. It allows one to see clearly, act decisively, and respond with discernment rather than impulse. It transforms every interaction into an opportunity to grow and every challenge into a teacher. In this state, the mind is calm but alert, the heart confident but gentle, and the spirit aligned with forces far greater than the self. Those who cultivate humility walk through the world with a quiet authority, their mastery visible not in boastful acts, but in the serenity, wisdom, and balance that radiates from within. Energy is the silent current that shapes life. Every thought, every intention, and every action carries it, moving through the body, mind, and spirit. When directed with awareness, energy becomes a force for clarity, strength, and transformation. When scattered or neglected, it leaves the soul fatigued, the mind clouded, and the spirit restless. The flow of personal energy is not external. It is cultivated, conserved, and consciously guided. Shaolin masters have long understood that the body is both a vessel and a conduit for this force. Through controlled breathing, meditation, and mindful movement, energy is collected, balanced, and focused. Each inhale draws vitality inward. Each exhale releases tension and distraction. Intentional routines, practiced consistently, train the mind to recognize where energy is leaking and how it can be harnessed to strengthen focus, discipline, and insight. Every movement, even the simplest, becomes a meditation in channeling life force toward purpose rather than chaos. Equally important is the awareness of what drains energy. Relationships that breed conflict, habits that dull awareness, and repetitive thoughts that scatter attention act as silent leeches on the soul. Energy management requires discernment, the courage to release what no longer serves, and the discipline to protect the currents that sustain inner balance. Mastery of energy is subtle yet profound. It allows the mind to remain alert without tension, the body to act with precision without strain, and the spirit to move in harmony with unseen currents. Over time, these practices build resilience, sharpen perception, and cultivate a quiet power that is invisible to the untrained eye. In learning to conserve, direct, and honor energy, one shapes not only the self, but also the world touched by that energy, aligning with a rhythm both ancient and eternal, where attention, intention, and action converge in purposeful flow. True mastery is not measured by what one accumulates, but by what one gives. The path of the self, no matter how disciplined or enlightened, remains incomplete without extending its strength and insight toward others. In every act of service, the teachings of the spirit find expression, and the abstract principles of wisdom transform into living reality. Personal mastery reaches its fullness only when it flows outward, touching the lives of those around us with clarity, compassion, and purpose. Ancient Shaolin philosophy holds that the highest cultivation of the self is inseparable from the well-being of the community. Meditation, martial practice, and discipline are not ends in themselves. They refine the individual so that their energy, intention, and understanding may serve a greater good. Each mindful action, each intentional effort prepares the practitioner to act not from ego, but from love. True alignment is not silent or isolated. It manifests in protection, guidance, and the upliftment of others. Divine wisdom itself is rooted in love, a love that seeks to heal, guide, and awaken. To ignore this call is to withhold the gift of mastery from the world. Every act of kindness, every patient word, every step taken to safeguard or nurture another carries profound spiritual weight. Service is not always grand. It is often quiet, subtle, and consistent. Yet in its humility lies extraordinary power. The power to shift perception, to create resonance, and to restore harmony where there is imbalance. Those who embrace service walk a path where personal discipline meets the needs of life beyond themselves. Compassion becomes a natural expression of mastery. Understanding guides action, and protection flows from awareness. In serving, the practitioner becomes a vessel of divine presence, aligning with a truth that transcends self-interest and touches the eternal currents that connect all beings. This is the ultimate refinement of skill, the highest expression of discipline, and the living proof that mastery is most complete when it gives rather than receives. Life unfolds like a tapestry woven from countless choices, actions, and moments of awareness. True balance emerges when the threads of mindfulness, discipline, emotional mastery, courage, humility, and service are not separate strands, but interlaced into a coherent whole. Each principle supports the other. Mindfulness grounds attention, discipline shapes action, emotional mastery tempers impulse, courage illuminates shadow, humility opens perception, and service channels strength outward. Together, they form the architecture of a life aligned with both inner truth and the greater currents of existence. These teachings are not abstract ideals. They are meant to be lived, practiced, and refined with each breath. Daily routines, no matter how small, become the instruments through which wisdom is integrated into being. Rising with intention, pausing to observe emotion, moving through life with clarity, and extending compassion to others. These are the practical applications that transform understanding into experience. In this process, the ordinary becomes sacred, and mastery is measured not by accolades, but by the quiet steadiness of mind, the resilience of heart, and the alignment of action with higher principles. Ignoring these lessons is not merely neglect. It disrupts the flow that sustains growth, clarity, and connection. Each overlooked practice, each moment of inattention, creates ripples that distort the natural rhythm of mind, body, and spirit. The divine currents that guide, sustain, and protect become less perceptible when one turns away from these truths. Integration is the culmination of self-mastery, a life where awareness flows freely, decisions are guided by clarity, energy is balanced, and strength serves rather than dominates. It is the conscious weaving of principle into every thought, movement, and interaction. In this harmony, one moves not against life, but with it, aligning with the currents that have always awaited recognition. The lessons are ancient yet timeless. Their practice is the bridge between the human and the divine. The message shared today carries a sacred weight, a gentle call from the depths of wisdom to awaken and align. Each principle, mindfulness, discipline, emotional mastery, courage, humility, and service is more than a teaching. It is a path, a practice meant to guide the heart and sharpen the spirit. Take a moment to pause, reflect, and feel how these lessons touch your own life. Let them not remain ideas, but become living practices, woven into each breath, each choice, each step. Awakening and mastery are both a gift and a responsibility. They are gifts because the opportunity to grow, to refine the self, and to connect with higher truth is always present. They are a responsibility because every moment ignored or forgotten diminishes the flow of clarity and alignment within and around you. Commit to this path with patience, intention, and reverence, knowing that small, consistent efforts shape the life of both the self and the world. As you carry these truths into your daily life, allow stillness, awareness, and compassion to guide your actions. Let your energy be directed with purpose, your heart tempered by humility, and your strength expressed through service. In this harmony, the teachings become alive, and the connection to the divine flows freely. If this message resonated, if it stirred awareness or inspired reflection, embrace it and allow it to grow. For more guidance, ancient wisdom and reflections on self-mastery. Like this video and subscribe to Shaolin Soulfire. Walk your path with calm, clarity, and strength, and let each day be a step toward awakening and true mastery.